Okay, so a very happy Monday afternoon to all you lovely trading folk, and even a Tuesday morning for some, but very good to see you all. Nice to have everyone with us this afternoon. I'm always happy to see some new names and faces, and to have a chance to talk to some fellow traders. So it's always a fun time for me. So nice to see you all. One little quick note. Some of you may have had some trouble getting onto the website. Pages loading, some of this, some of that, some of the other. A while back we did some movements and upgraded the server and did a few things. That still kind of didn't fix it completely for everybody. It did start to run better, but it didn't fix it for everybody. So the website now has been moved to a completely new server, new upgraded everything. In the process, it's taken on a bit of a different look, which I don't love. So we'll be doing some cosmetic work to the website in the coming days, sometime this week. But all the functionality is the same. One thing that you will notice probably, especially for members, is that in the live sessions section, it'll look like we haven't done anything in like 2 weeks because that was the last stuff that got transferred over. So I'll update that. And I'll put some more stuff in there, but everything else worked the same. All of that stuff is just all good to go. So everything else is just business as usual. Website's here, it functions, it works, and hopefully it'll load much better and much faster for everybody because it was having a little bit of a problem loading quickly and doing all that. So anyway, that's what we're doing there. Right now, this button, which is Get a Free Trial, will just take you to the home page, which is obviously not necessarily the goal. So you'll just have to click on Join if you want a free trial. It doesn't mean you have to join when you click on it, but this will take you to the free trial page, and this has all the regular details of our regular stuff. So remember, if you'd like a free trial, if you'd like to see us trade some of these things we're going to talk about today, come on by and get a free trial and have a look at the kind of day in, day out action that we do in all this trading. So it'll be great to have any new folk with us. We'd love to have you, and you're welcome to stop by. You can use that link right there. Okay, let's have a little look at what we have coming up this week. We want to look at key stuff. So we've seen, by the way, bank holiday in both U.S. and Canada. I didn't even know. I've been busy, so busy today. But for us, Columbus Day, I think, right? Is that what? Yeah, Columbus Day, and then it's officially Thanksgiving Day in Canada. Even though Lila says you guys celebrated it over the weekend, which I think is a smart move. Why would you do it on Monday? You might as well do it on the weekend and then have Monday to relax. So I like that. So nothing too crazy coming out today. A little bit of Aussie news, blah, blah, nothing crazy. Okay, coming into Tuesday, though, CPI news, always important. German zoo, always important. Chinese CPI, definitely worth keeping an eye on. Going into Wednesday, it's going to be all about watching this central bank stuff. I'm jealous. We have Thanksgiving coming up, Lila, in a couple of, I guess about a month now. We'll be digging into that turkey too. That's great. I'm jealous. We have Draghi speaking Wednesday at midnight chat time, and that should be that should be interesting. He's speaking about the statistics. This is, never mind. I think he speaks twice this week. The 7th Statistics Conference organized by the ECB in Frankfurt. So he'll be speaking. That could definitely have some impact on the market. We'll keep an eye on that. And we've got quite a bit of UK news coming out as well, followed by some retail sales in the US and all of that. And then the rest of the week, a little bit of manufacturing for both Canada and the U.S. We'll see how that goes. Those aren't typically huge movers, but they do have impact in the long term. And then we have some CPI numbers for Canada and some housing starts. And then Yellen speaks on Friday morning as well, bright and early. And she'll be speaking at the Federal Reserve in Boston on inequality and opportunity and all that stuff. So anyways, that's where we are. Yeah, exactly. You have to wonder sometimes. You have to wonder if all these central banks aren't just totally in cahoots with each other and working the system together. Okay, so here's what we're looking at on the euro dollar. Remember our indicator. If anybody here does not have the free indicator, go to this link right here. I'm gonna send it over to you right now. If you don't have the free indicator, you want to get that ASAP. So get that plugged in. Just copy and paste that and go to that link right there and get the free indicator and get going with this right here. We have the euro that is doing a nice little move here. Our euro setup is still 100%. We're 400 candles plus away from the 200 moving average. Everything's looking great. Euro dollar did start the week off. It's up a little bit from the start of the week, about 120 pips or so. You can see everything opened up at a big down right here, and it just ran up a little bit, went sideways, and then just recently, over the last couple of hours, in one candle, shot up like 65 pips, which was totally crazy. And made a nice little move there. So euro dollar is kind of doing a really short-term inverted head and shoulders pattern. We have a nice little head and shoulder, little neckline break, you know, kind of this type of stuff. And it's kind of it's almost played out, you know, what we expect from that. But we're still looking for the euro dollar to reach at least the 200 moving average, which is about 128.35. And keep in mind we have the 23% fib about 128.60. So 128.50, 60 is starting to get very, very interesting on this euro dollar, like very, very interesting. If you look at the large scale here, you can see that the euro dollar from the highs of May to the lows right here has been a pretty steady rundown. So if we look at the Fibonacci on that May high to October low, you can see that our 23% is at 128.60. If we cross 128.60, I will fully and completely expect the euro dollar to make it up to peak at least above 130. Maybe not 130, 100, but just kind of nose above the water, above 130. And from there, we will absolutely, positively be looking for, we'll start layering on the sell entries, the short entries on euro dollar to start trading this thing down to the bigger picture low, which is the low 120s. It could take it a little while to get there, but it'll get there. It'll get down to 120, 120, 100, and it might even just plow right through that. But I think we're going to get there. I think we're going to get a nice little move down on this. So we're going to start layering on the orders above between 129 and 130. And we should have some really good opportunities for that, and that'll be just a great little opportunity to short long term. Now, this is not necessarily indicator setup, that big sell trade I'm talking about. It's more one central bank versus the next, interest rates, the cycle that everything's in. We're kind of taking a little bit of the economic stance here because of the and price patterns as well. The euro just loves to. It just loves to make these lower highs the last several years, and it loves to bottom out right about 120. And we're going to trade it down to 120. We're going to get it down there, and we'll make 800 to 1,000 pips on this trade, at least 700. I'll back off a little bit, at least 700, but 700 to 1,000 pips is what we'll be targeting on this euro dollar. But right now it's making a nice little pullback, and we do fully and completely expect it to reach at least 128.50, which right now it's below 127.50, so we have a nice 100 pips to get into this. We're still looking for opportunities to buy this euro dollar after dips and after that kind of stuff. And right now it's just making a nice little short term, really soft, really relaxed kind of bull flag. And so we'll look for that bull flag to play out, but a little bit of retracement down around some of these levels down here of about 12700, give or take, would be ideal. Around 25 to 35 pips of retracement, and we could start buying this euro dollar up into 128.50. So there's still probably at least an easy 100 pips up, and then and then from there we'll start looking for those shorts. But we should have a nice opportunity to buy the euro for 100 pips up, minimum. Around 12700, and then again above 12900, we're gonna sell the heck out of that thing and just start writing it on down. Okay, so pound dollar. Quick little look at pound dollar here. As I mentioned last week, I'm a little bit kind of at an intersection on the pound dollar. I don't really know what I want to do with it. If we look at this kind of big move down that the pound's made, it found a lot of support down here just around the 160 area. And it's looking great. Everything's looking good. You can see that we have a lot of resistance up here. We have a 23% fib that's about 162.50. We have a weekly pivot 162.88, a monthly pivot 163.00, the 200 moving average. And right now we have a really low grade 4-hour chart setup, which is you can see it's like a 6% probability. Which is not super interesting, and it's just 104 bars out from 102 average. So it's a low grade movement, but I do think the pound dollar is going to be an interesting one, and I do think we're going to have a nice opportunity to trade this on up into that 163.00 at least. Now 160 has held pretty well, and truth be told, we got a bit below 160 here. Our low is 159.50. And so I like getting long pound dollar against this level. I'd like to see it dip down just a little bit. We're still about 120 pips off that low. I'd like to see it dip down just a little bit, but I think we're going to get a nice opportunity to see a really clean double bottom on this pound dollar on the shorter term charts, like the 4-hour chart. Get a nice little rundown of 100 pips, give or take. And then really just ride this thing right back on up into 163.00. Now, beyond 163.00, I don't know what I want to do with the pound dollar. I'll be totally honest. I have no idea what I want to do. I think it could sell off pretty massively. I think anything could happen. I'm going to have to leave that one a little bit up to the central bank stuff. At that point, but I think technically speaking, that's going to be a nice little setup, a nice pullback and a trade up into 163.00. And by the time we get some of that retracement, our indicator is going to look even better. Right now, again, it's just a low probability setup, but that's going to turn into a high probability setup as we see this pull back down just a little bit and get a little closer to that 160. And then we'll start buying the heck out of it. And remember, we're still bullish. We're still long dollar. We're still long U.S. dollar as we should be, but this is kind of that recovery mode. This is where things start to consolidate, and they make these big moves, right? So we've seen this big, for example, we've seen this really nice big move on the pound dollar, and it's not just going to hit a low and then retrace 800 pips. It's going to chop around and get everybody out of the market and create a nice little range, and then it'll run up and hit some nice upper targets, and then it'll continue down. And that's exactly what I think we're going to see on this pound dollar. I don't really know. I'm not as confident on the sell-off as I am on the bounce and the buy-up. I just don't really have much of an entry on the sell-off part yet. But buying that dip, I think, is going to be super great. And we're going to look to do that as close to 160 as possible. So be ready for that. Again, questions, comments, send them on over. Aussie dollar has been kind of interesting. Australia is kind of shrugging off any bad news right now, but we still have the central bank. Remember, it's all about, what are the central banks saying and doing? We still have the Central Bank of Australia. The RBA is saying that they really want to see the exchange rate lower, like a lot lower than it is, like in the mid 70s. And here we are in the mid to high 80s right now, 87.50. And so I tend to agree. I think we're going to see a really nice move down on this Aussie dollar. Look at my charts right here. I think we're going to be able to at least get to this monthly 200 moving average, which is 8,400. But I think we're probably going to hit 80 at least, 80, 50, right around there. On the Aussie dollar, and so we're going to look for that. And again, this could be a very, very nice 1,000 pips sell-off. I would like to get in short as close to the 90-cent level as possible on the Aussie dollar. Right now we have a really clear, really nice double bottom. This thing hit and just ran like crazy. It was just beautiful. It's about 100 pips off that low. The weekend started, or the week started, and it just took that little dip, and then it rallied like crazy. This is some nice consolidation, nice range trading. Again, we have a bit of a lower level setup, only a 17% probability, meaning that there were many, many, many more movements bigger than what we're looking at here. But But I think this is going to be a nice little run up, and we're going to look to buy this dip a little bit closer to these lows, down around the 86, probably 86.75, 86.80, 90 even area, just below 8,600, or excuse me, below 8,700 is what I'd like to do on the Aussie dollar. And we're going to trade this thing up to at least 8,900. So we're looking for kind of 200 pips initially, and then we're going to start looking for opportunities to find entries up around, up above 8,900 to start shorting the Aussie dollar and trading it through this double bottom, through these lows of 86.50 and so on. Let me go back to that chart for a second, Tom. Head and shoulders pattern setting up on 4-hour chart, pound dollar. Are you talking about like this little guy right here? This little kind of immediate setup? If that's the one you're referring to, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's definitely a small, it probably looks better on the 1-hour chart, actually. Yeah, we definitely have some, some little head and shoulders activity. We start getting below this neckline area here, which is pretty safe to say is right about that area. So, again, if we kind of stick to our price projection, 190 pips, yeah, that definitely, that could absolutely push the pound dollar through that low if that, picks up any momentum. So, yeah, very good point. Thanks for pointing that out. And it's always great. We do want to look for these price patterns. Price patterns are so great. Typical breakouts are great, but when you can really top it off with a nice price pattern, that is just supremo. So, and the Aussie dollar is a great example of that. Very, very nice double bottom right here. Totally excellent short-term setup to get this running up into some of these levels. I thought I put a fib level on here, and I apparently did not. The Aussie dollar. Uh-oh. Did we lose audio? Did it get a little bad? Uh-oh. What's going on here? Can you hear me now? Okay, so we're back after a little bit of an audio problem there. So anyways, just looking at this Aussie dollar real quick. This nice little rundown that we've seen here. Yes, yep, we're recording. This nice little rundown is giving us a great opportunity to trade some of this retracement. One thing that I love on the Aussie dollar is that it did get above the 23% fib here, and then it crashed back down and made a double bottom. This is such a common little setup right here. And so our 23% fib, or excuse me, our 38% fib is right up at this monthly pivot, right around 89, right around the 89.40 area. And so I'm absolutely looking to get long Aussie dollars. I mentioned below 8,700 would be ideal, and I think we're going to get up to that 8,900 pretty nicely. Okay, all right, volume's back in full force. Okay, very good. So the Aussie is looking excellent. Let's look for opportunities to buy the dip again below 8,700. That's a 60 pip retracement at or below 8,700. Now, of course, we'll be trading this a little more specifically in the group, but for those that are just watching today and are going to kind of take this idea, below 8,700, you want to have stops below. Okay, so here's, for example, let's just say you get in at 8,700 right here. You get in at 8,700. Your stops are about 50 pips. You're going below these lows, 50, 60 pips. If it breaks those lows, you probably don't want to stay in the Aussie dollar because it's now making, a new run, the next run, all of that stuff. But so far, I think that's going to be a nice, very nice little run and give us a really nice opportunity. There's a crazy pronounced double bottom right there, and that 200 moving average is calling our name. So we're definitely buying the dip there. But then again, shorting from that upper level. I don't have too terribly much on dollar CAD. It's getting a little bit choppy. We don't really have a setup anywhere, and so we'll keep an eye on it. I love the dollar CAD whenever I can trade it, but as of the last couple of months, that is. I've always had kind of a mixed relationship with dollar CAD, but There's nothing there yet. Dollar Swiss franc, we talked about the euro. Dollar Swiss franc still has a nice little run, hopefully to get down at least into this 94, 50 area. I don't know why these things keep going away. Well, beyond 94.50, but down into all these pivots and moving averages and so on. It's made a nice little move. It kind of looks like we're getting a creepy looking head and shoulders pattern on this 4-hour chart. We have that nice little head and a shoulder and kind of this ski-wampus shoulder with a big dip right here. So this dollar Swiss franc and the euro dollar, they've both done very similar movements in kind of that inverted head and shoulder situation. Dollar Swiss franc and its regular looking one that's only so regular. It's looking interesting. We might really see this start to run down. So we're not going to buy the dips too soon on this dollar Swiss franc. Because there's not as key of a level as the euro dollar has. So we're selling those rallies on euro dollar, but we're just not going to buy the dips as quickly on dollar Swiss franc. Any pullback, we had a trade on this over the last part of last week, and it ended up pulling back and taking us out. And then just closed the week and has been tanking ever since it opened. So there hasn't been a real good time-wise situation to jump back into this, but I like this dollar Swiss franc, and I think there still is some potential here. Remember, we have a 4-hour setup, and we're starting to work on a little bit of a daily setup. It's low grade, but we could see a little bit of a move down on this dollar Swiss franc. So keep an eye on this, and we'll have more details coming here. But we're definitely very interested in euro dollar, very interested in kind of one of the movements on pound dollar, very interested in Aussie dollar, and we're interested in dollar Swiss franc, and we'll get some money out of this thing. That's a good question, Michael. And the little double bottom that we have coming up on this dollar Swiss franc is, I think it'll be a pretty good. What in the world? There we go. I think it'll be a pretty good little support level, but it's gonna put up a bit of a fight. That double bottom's about 94. What is that? 68-ish. That'll put up a little bit of a fight, but I don't think it's going to stop the move down into the monthly pivot and the 200 moving average. So there could still be like a short-term trade below that double bottom, and we may do something with that. We'll keep an eye on it, but I don't think that's going to stop the run into the monthly pivot and into the 200 moving average. Gold, we're keeping a really close eye on gold. Gold has done pretty well. Remember, we have this huge triple bottom. This is a massive level, and I was almost curious, is this going to get hit again? Look at this bounce. Gold hit, and it just bounced huge, just a huge bounce right here, and has not really looked back. So we may have some stuff coming up on gold. So I know not everybody can trade gold, but for those that can, there might be some interesting activity in the works on gold. So just keep an eye on that. That's coming up. Dollar yen, just a quick little note on dollar yen. I mentioned that below 10700 I'm getting pretty interested in buying opportunities, and that still stands. I'm just kind of letting this dollar yen run just a tiny little bit more. This move higher right here puts us at the 38% fib, which it's so very likely to hit. It's sitting at 106.65. So it's got, we still got a 35-40 pip run at least to get into this pivot, 200 moving average, or excuse me, 38% fib, all of that stuff. Now, we're not far enough out on the daily chart that we have much of a setup. We just have probably a 40 pip run down. But around 106.50, I'm going to start putting on small positions on dollar yen and seeing if we can get this back up into 110 and through 110. So we're watching this trend. We're watching everything, and as I mentioned last week a couple of times, below 10700 is going to be an interesting level to start buying into this, and I think that still very much stands. So there you have it on the dollar yen. That should be a nice little move. We've got some activity in the New Zealand dollar, and this is it's setting up nicely. New Zealand dollar is an absolute excellent buying opportunity, but we've got to see it stabilize just a little bit. We're going to look for some additional entries down here, probably below about 78.50. As it kind of dips down there below, it seems to really, it's hit this level, this 7,700 level, bounced up a good little bit, double bottomed on 7,700 level, bounced up a bit, and it's just kind of coming back down. So on the bright side, it's kind of it's slowly making some higher lows, which is positive for this movement up. But I'm absolutely positively 100% targeting at least the 200 moving average on this pair, which at this point is up around 80, just a little bit above 80 cents. So I think we're going to be able to get, we'll get 150 pips out of that buy move up. The one thing that I love, though, and we're going to keep an eye on this, it's made this really nice move down, and we have our 23% fib, which is around 70, 79, 80 area. So above that, we might just see a bit of a run up into like 81.50 as opposed to just 80.50. And I think that's super possible, especially on this big run. So all of these pairs, we want to let the dollar recover as much as it wants to, needs to, has to, and then we're going to, right now we're going to trade into a little bit of dollar weakness, and then we're going to really jump on and hit the trends hard for dollar strength again, and we're really going to pounce on that. But we could see dollar weakness even potentially the entire week this week. So we're going to try to ride that euro dollar up and buy dips on pound dollar and buy dips on Aussie dollar and sell rallies on dollar Swiss franc and kind of take that route to start this week off, and then we'll really follow up with all of that coming up later in the week and where the big sell-offs are going to start. So that's what we're looking for. Sorry for the technical difficulties, guys, but everything looks great. I'm excited for this week. We have some really, really good stuff in the works, and I hope that some of you that were not able to join us last week in some free trials, you can jump on this week, give it a shot, see how it goes for the week. We'd love to have you. Thanks a bunch, everyone. I'm going to get this recording posted, and I will be happy to answer any questions any of you might have.